Hi Aries and Aries rising, this is your February 2017 forecast. So there's quite a lot going on in February. We've got two eclipses, we've got a full moon lunar eclipse happening on the 11th of February, and we've got a solar eclipse happening on the 26th of February. So eclipses are always signatures of change, so sudden dramatic events can cause changes of circumstances and direction, and these can be upsetting or, welcome changes that free us from previous restrictions. Your ruling planet Mars is also going to be in your own sign Aries for most of the month, and Venus will be with Mars in your first house. So let's look at what that means for you. With Mars and Aries in your first house, this is really a strong expression of your goals, objectives, and ambitions, and you'll be working very hard to further them. Aries, of course, your sign is very pioneering. It's all about leadership, taking risks, being adventurous and bold. The caveat can be being a little bit too impulsive, so you really want to think before you act. But Venus is going to do a lot to mitigate the rashness of Mars in your first house. So Mars is going to be giving you that energy and that activity, that drive to get ahead, to show the world what you can do. And Venus is going to be softening that influence, making you more amenable to teamwork, to group work, to cooperating with other people. So Venus is going to make that Mars a little bit less aggressive and less conflict driven. But Venus and Mars together in the first, of course, produces a very confident and charismatic personality. So, this should see you being very sociable. And with Venus in the first, it's going to attract opportunities for sociability, for fun, for pleasure to you. And Mars is going to be really driven to go ahead, take risks, take the initiative, take the plunge. So it could be a month of a lot of socializing, fun, and as well as that, getting a lot of work done and being very productive and driven to succeed. So until the 19th of February, the Sun is going to be in your 11th house, and this is the house of groups, friends, associations. It's, it signals the start of a very sociable period. It's also a period where you're focusing on your goals and objectives, and you're using your social networks to advance them. So dreams and ideals are the focus, and Mars in the first is really going to help you focus those dreams and realize them. So from the 19th of February, the Sun moves into the 12th house, and this is a little bit more reflective. This is, of course, the month prior to your birthday month. So this is where you finish uncompleted business or old business. You don't necessarily start new projects, but you take care of what you already have on your plate. It's also a period of review and reflection where you decide what you want to keep in your life and what you want to pursue going forward. So Mercury for the majority of the month is going to be in your 11th house, and this is of course a very sociable placement for Mercury. It helps you articulate and talk about and communicate your goals and objectives and to use your social networks to advance them. So this is also where you can lean a little bit more on your social networks to advance your goals and objectives, and to really have conversations with friends and groups, and consider group associations and connections and ties to advance your ideas, opinions, and also just your goals and objectives. So from the 26th, Mercury will be in your 12th house, joining the Sun here. So really the last week of the month is going to be about reflection, review, finishing old business after a very busy and sociable month preceding it. So let's look at what's happening in terms of aspects. On the 2nd of February, we've got Mercury squaring Jupiter between your 10th and your 7th houses. This is the house of career and the 7th of partnerships. So this is good for long-range plans around partnerships, around career objectives. It's also very good for business and commerce, generally speaking, and for career objectives and goals. It can make you a little bit sloppy with the details, so whatever you do or business you're negotiating, be sure to plan carefully and attend to those details. So from the 28th of January, which was last month, we had a new moon happening in your 11th house, and that really activated that social period for you. So the first 2 weeks of February, really a social calendar, especially with Mars and Venus in your first house. You're really going to be putting yourself out there, be coming across as very sociable and charismatic. So really a period where you want to strengthen group ties and connections, and to further your goals through these avenues. On the 9th, we've got the Sun in your 11th house, sextiling Uranus in your first house. And this is very good for new activities. It makes you a little bit restless, itchy and impatient. You want to shake up routine. You want to do things in a new way. So trying new things and new discoveries and activities really key with this aspect. On the 10th, we've got Mercury sextiling Venus between your 11th and your 1st house. And this is very good for socializing yet again. It's the house of friendship. And so very good for social interactions and discussions, light-hearted leisure with friends, relaxing with friends. Also good for declarations of love and expressing your feelings. On the 11th of February, we've got the full moon lunar eclipse happening in your 5th house. Now, the 5th house is the house of love, romance, fun, and creative pursuits and personal business projects. And a full moon here can show a culmination, either in love affairs and relationships, where, things can either hit a peak or a valley. So ending or beginning new love relationships or intensification thereof. You can also be called upon to complete a creative project. So this is really the house of fun, pleasure, romance, love. So, you'll want to invest your energies into these things. It's also the house of personal business projects. So anything that you're pursuing that's your own personal creative baby is going to prosper under this influence, or perhaps a project that you've been working on creatively will reach a peak. So, very favorable aspects between the Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Saturn and Uranus during this eclipse. And of course, eclipses play out over a period of time, so the full results take a while to settle. And for you, it's going to be around 5th house affairs, so love affairs, things that you do for pleasure or fun, and personal business and speculative risks favored under this influence. So things reaching ahead as well, because of course this is a full moon. So on the 14th, we've got the Sun sextiling Saturn between your 11th and 9th houses. And since the 11th house is the house of friendship, this can show sound, practical advice from peers or trusted people or authorities. And and in your personal frame of reference, it can really heighten common sense and practicality. It's good in the house of long-range plans and objectives, so planning, conscientious planning around these things. So a serious stabilizing view on goals and objectives and how to practically further and advance them. On the 16th, we've got Mercury in the 11th house sextiling Mars in your 1st. And this can show a lot of mental and physical busyness, hassle. You'll want to take the initiative to take charge. You'll want to show off your expertise in certain regards. And this is also a good aspect for standing firm on your convictions and views. But really, with this placement, especially with Mars in the 1st house, you want to make use of any opportunities that come your way and really seize the day. On the 20th, we've got Mercury sextiling Uranus between your 11th and your 1st house. And this is going to be very useful for tackling problems that you couldn't resolve in the past. So, good for a fresh perspective, a novel approach for mixing things up. And of course, in the house of goals and objectives, friendships and groups, this can really help you take a fresh perspective on those areas of your life as well. So perhaps, a novel look at, your goals and objectives and how to pursue them in a different way will be illuminated at this time. On the 21st, we've got Mercury trining Jupiter between your 11th and 7th houses. So this, of course, the house of friendship, groups, and the 7th house of partnerships. And a very favorable aspect. This is good for future plans and organizing around partnerships, around friendships and groups. It also favors business and commerce, so very good for commercial deals, transactions, even buying and selling. So this transit really favorable. It sharpens the mind, it gives you a sense of the big picture, and very good for business and commerce. On the 22nd, we've got a difficult aspect between Mars and Pluto, and since Mars is your ruling planet and in your 1st house, this is one that you want to be a little bit careful of. Mars in the 1st and Pluto in difficult aspect in the 10th can show power struggles, disagreements. These can be happening professionally. So this can be in the sphere of career for you, so there can be ego energies and conflicts really at a premium. So you'll really want to watch anger and resentment and conflict with groups or authority figures. On the plus side, this can help you get a lot of work done, so help you advance career goals and objectives, especially things that you need to tackle that take a lot of energy. So that would be the favorable expression of this difficult aspect. So on the 23rd, we've got Mercury sextiling Saturn between your 11th and 9th houses. And Mercury and Saturn together are very good for critical thinking, very good for serious subjects, very good for careful, conscientious work. It's not so good with big, or broad thinking or creative projects per se, but very good for anything that you need to tackle conscientiously and diligently. So working carefully, either alone or with other people. So careful, conscientious work. So we've got the new Moon Solar Eclipse happening in your 12th house. Now the 12th house is that house where, we can purge and review past behaviors. It can be a tricky and challenging house in the sense that it shows where we need to let go of certain things that we've had in our life. It's also the house of service and altruism. So, you can volunteer, you can help somebody out, you can work behind the scenes. So a very useful placement for clearing out excess baggage, things that have served their purpose, you want to flush out. So this is the period of new projects regarding that sort of thing, what you want to eliminate from your life, how you want to, and also for useful philanthropic service and altruism. So with Mars conjuncting Uranus in your first house during this eclipse, you'll want to be careful for accidents, rash behavior, impulsivity with the Sun and Moon in semi-square to this Mars-Uranus conjunction. This can show quite a dramatic change of direction as well, and perhaps this is going to necessitate some reflection, purging, and revision for you. So the month ends with Mars opposing Jupiter between the 1st and the 7th houses on the 27th. Also an aspect that's alive and well during the eclipse, and as I said, Mars and Uranus are conjunct. So this can really show things getting perhaps a little bit out of hand. It can be a lucky transit, Mars opposing Mars opposing Jupiter, or it can show foolish action. Jupiter can always conflate things, exaggerate things, take things over the top. At the same time, Mars and Jupiter together have a lot of physical energy and stamina, so you can funnel those things into partnerships and projects around partnerships, so things that require high energy, partnerships and those sorts of interactions that can be profitable, can be quite useful during this opposition. Anyway, if you've liked this forecast, please like and subscribe, and thanks so much for listening.